tone, please state your name.
Don't talk over him, gonna.
All right, guys. What is it? Is anybody able to see the?
They are.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep, Kim.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming out. My name is Eulo, and I'm here today to talk to you about my 3-pass trek to Everest Base Camp 2 months ago now, back in April. Next slide. Thanks. A little bit about myself real quick. I graduated from the Citadel in 2015 down in Charleston, South Carolina, with a civil and environmental degree. I worked at Dewberry as a water resources engineer for my first couple of years, and then switched over to Parsons last April, and have been doing site civil work at the Newark Airport. Right now, we just submitted our final design in April. Got comments back on that, so hopefully our plans will revolutionize Newark Airport, and we won't get such bad word being from New Jersey all the time. Let's see. So as far as my hiking career goes, I started after college. I started doing nature walks, and then last 2 years started to get into more serious mountain hikes, and I just really enjoyed it. Kind of freed my mind, and I highly encourage anyone who's interested in learning or starting to hike to just go out there and start walking around. It's really enjoyable. Can you go back one? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So as far as planning goes, I did not decide to go on Everest myself. I actually had inspiration from a coworker, Jignatha Ray. I sat down with her about a year ago and talked to her about her trip a couple years back to Everest Base Camp, and the mental and physical challenge that was associated with it was very appealing to me, and it just sounded like an amazing trip. And I hadn't done much traveling prior to this, so I wanted to get out there and start seeing more, but Nepal was definitely quite a distance for my first long-distance trip. So it originally started, so 2 weeks after I spoke with Jignatha, my friend Hannah reached out to me and told me that she is actually planning on doing Everest Base Camp this past April. So I thought it was like a godsend that I just spoke with Jignatha. 2 weeks later, my friend brings it up to me. So I hopped all over it. We started discussing plans and whatnot. She ended up bringing a third person in, Callie, who's from Colorado and was one of Anna's friends. I hadn't met her beforehand. So yeah, Colorado native. She's an EMT out there, and also a marathon Ironman runner. She just finished her first Ironman last Saturday. But about a month before we were deciding on our guide, Anna ended up backing out due to medical issues. So Callie and I spoke. We decided, you know what, even though we don't know each other, we've been comfortable with each other texting over these last couple months, so we decided to go for it anyway. So as far as training goes, like I said, I've been hiking for the last 4 years. Started doing more serious winter hikes 2 years ago, and then really stepped up this past winter when I decided I was going to do EDC. Mount Marcy was probably my most difficult one, highest in New York. The first time we went, we had 50-mile-an-hour winds with 70-mile-an-hour gusts. -2 degrees was the low that day, and about 15 degrees was the high. We made it about a quarter mile from the summit before a big gust came through. His fingers and toes went numb, and we decided to turn around due to safety. My eyelashes froze over. That was a cold moment in my life. Next was Mount Mansfield, which is the highest peak in Vermont. Both were great training for this trek, just a lot of staircases and a lot of fun getting out there. As far as elevation training, I've had one trip at Colorado in which we got up to about 10,000 feet. I got pretty bad elevation sickness at 9,000 feet, so going to EDC where we'd be over 18,000, double that was kind of iffy for me going in, but it is what it is. I didn't have time to get out west and get some elevation training. And then as far as my overnight trip, this was planning on being a 16-night trekking trip. My longest was 3 nights prior to this, so I knew it was going to be a big jump going from 3 nights being in the elements to 16, but I felt as if I was ready for it, so I went for it. So for you geographically challenged people like myself, Nepal is between India to the south and China to the north. So zooming in, you can see Kathmandu centrally located, slightly off to the right. One more. And then Mount Everest is northeast of Kathmandu, with Eulo Airport being located just to the south of Mount Everest. So from Kathmandu, we flew to Eulo, just south of Mount Everest, and then from there, we started hiking up. So traveling, I was sick in the U.S. prior to leaving, and then traveling the 25, 26 hours to Nepal really threw my body for a loop. I spent my first 4 days in Nepal pretty sick, which included our first 2 trekking days, but it thankfully subsided after those 2 days. Kathmandu was fantastic. We had a lot of fun in that city. Wonderful food, and the handmade goods were fantastic. I brought back a lot of little goodies for nieces and nephews. The traffic and the pollution was something I'd never dealt with ever. I thought New York was bad, but it was horrifyingly bad over there. I actually bought a face mask and used that for any time I walked outside. It was pretty nasty. The locals were extremely nice, however, they were pushy, at least the salesmen were. If you walked into a market, you were going to get badgered by multiple people. But it was fun negotiating prices. I'd never done that prior to going over there, so that was a good time. So at the beginning of the trek, we had a 2:30 a.m. wake up for a 3 a.m. van ride, 5 hours through the Nepalese mountains to Ramchak Airport. We found out the day before that Kathmandu Airport was actually doing construction, so we couldn't fly out of that airport, and instead we had to do the 5-hour drive. I was already sick, like I said. That made it way worse. Thankfully, we didn't have any accidents, but it was nasty. And then we flew into Eulo, which is considered the most dangerous airport in the world. I honestly didn't feel that. There it is. I didn't feel that scared. From what I understand, the pilots flying into this airport are the best in the world, and they have years and years of experience. So did we know? No, not too many messages. Yeah, so when it's super cloudy, clouds are constantly moving in and out, and when you fly in, right before you hit the runway, you need to pull the nose up because it's a 12% grade. So you got to imagine a plane is coming in, and then it's got to get on the 12% grade. It's bouncing. It's crazy. I didn't put any videos because the videos I took were pretty long, but I highly suggest Googling Eulo Airport. It's an amazing place. So we flew in around 9,000 feet. That's where we begin the trek, and let's get this moving. So, and if anyone has any questions during this, this is supposed to be informal. Please just shoot your hand up, and I'll answer as best I can. So the original plan, this is the large loop of the 3-pass trek. Most people who come here to do Everest Base Camp just do the Base Camp trek, which includes go to Eulo, Namche, up to Dingboche, and then cut across and go up that way. So that's the typical route, and then you follow that all the way back down. We decided to step it up a little bit and do the 3-pass trek, which is, we thought a little bit harder. It turned out to be significantly harder, and probably could have went with the other one. But the 3 passes includes doing the full loop, and you can see the 3 passes in the white boxes there. I'm sorry, jump back once more. So our plan was to come up from Eulo, go to Namche. Each one of these is an overnight. Go to Namche, spend acclimation day there to let our bodies get adjusted to the elevation. We did a short trip up to a high elevation and then back down the same day, spend a second night there. From there, our plan was to go all the way to Cone, get our first pass, go to Everest Base Camp, and then finish the loop that way. Plans ended up changing due to weather. I'll cover that in a little bit.
Back to the question.
Yes.
How many miles per day were you guys?
It varied. I'd say I calculated the average was about 8 to 9 miles per day. Yeah. We ended up doing 103 miles with 36,000 feet of climb, which I didn't know beforehand to do that. Next one. So this is in Eulo. When we first got to Eulo, we met 2 Irish guys who had just finished up the same trek that we did. Their faces were completely destroyed, all sunburned, peeling all over the place, and they were pretty miserable. Like I said, they just did the same one that we were about to get started on, so it was a little bit intimidating, but at the same time, it made us question what gear we were bringing. I went out and grabbed this real good-looking hat, along with a bunch of sunscreen, because I was trying to avoid that at all costs. the one big thing they got burned was right underneath your nose, actually. The sun reflection off the snow at the higher passes just fried them up, and they weren't even thinking about applying sunscreen there. So I got my gear. Little straight pup. This is common occurrence in the fall all throughout the cities that we visited. The puppies were real cute. They seem to all be fed, which I was surprised about. I saw a lot of goats on leashes and not a single dog on a leash, so I feel like a little flip-flop. But yeah, it was an interesting dynamic to see. So these two guys, they were really our heroes on this trek. The left guy is Owen. He's 25 years old. Both are Nepalese locals. Great guy. We got real close over the trek. He was really looking after us the whole time. And the way it works over in Nepal as far as being a porter and being a guide, you got to be a porter, which is what this guy's doing, where you carry the gear for 3 years. And then once you get to that, you can take the guide exam and become an official guide. So left is Owen. He was our guide, 25 years old. Right is Cool, his little brother, 14 years old. And he was our porter, carrying about anywhere from 70 to 90 pounds on his back up the mountain. Yeah. So he had 2 60-liter duffel bags, which is my duffel bag and Callie's duffel bag. We packed everything that we didn't need for that day into the duffel bag. Everything else we put in our small 30-liter backpack that we would need. So sleeping gear went in there. Any snow gear went in there when we were at lower levels. It was heavy. I tried to pick it up and forget about it. I couldn't believe it. And he was 14. He was trekking. He was absolutely killing it.
But did you arrange these two individuals, and how did you find them out? Just through a Google search or whatever?
Yeah, so we had 2 guides that we were looking at, 2 different programs. We ended up going with Jignata's recommendation, which is the one she used when she went. We didn't know who our guide or porter were until the day of that we flew into Lukla. Owen's English was pretty good. It was enough to communicate throughout the whole trek. Short sentences. There was a slight language barrier, but it was fun to overcome that together and
it was a symbol of danger, right?
Exactly.
Danger, you stop. That's universal.
Cool's English was not so great. We more communicated through smiles and just hand language. Both of them were so nice. I can't stress that enough.
Sorry.
So this is one of the many suspension bridges that we crossed. Extremely wobbly, swaying back and forth. It's almost as if you're surfing out there. These are some donkeys that we're crossing. They are used as porters. So they have people porters that carry this stuff like Cool does, but they also have animals. They have donkeys at lower level, and then they have yaks and ox at higher level due to the elevation. Different animals handle it differently. When the animals are crossing, people can't cross. They sometimes have bags on the side, and they'll flip you in the face or the stomach, so you just wait until they finish. When people cross, you might flip each other, but it's not that bad. So there's constantly people pulling back and forth. So this was our first tea house that we stayed in Tucking, 7,600 feet. As you can see, it's pretty roomy. We have beds. I should add that this was the nicer one that we stayed in. It was the first one. It was the lowest elevation. So as you went up, it got worse and worse. But I figured I'd show you guys the nice one just in case you want to go. But yeah, you received a nice comforter, which they didn't clean very well, so I avoided them for the most part. Yeah, it was nice. You jump back one. This is Callie and I. This was our acclimation day at Namche. We were heading up to 360 viewpoint for our first views of Everest. However, when we got up there, all the clouds had moved in, so we didn't get a chance to see Everest for our first opportunity, but we did get to see it later on. This was one thing I never got used to. You can't throw the toilet paper in the toilet. So every bathroom has a trash bin or a bucket, and you just throw all your toilet paper into the bucket. So that combined with the whole squatting
I was just going to say, what about digging out on the floor? I would prefer this.
These were typical views outside of our tea house windows. This is taken right outside of my window. Just mountainous. The mountains there were nothing like I had ever seen before. And to be surrounded by them for 2 weeks straight was really an experience in itself. So this is Namche Bazaar. This is the largest main city on the mountainside besides the airport Lukla. As you can see, there are thousands of people here. There's 600 children in this town. They got a school, an army, hospital. They got everything.
You said they got an army?
They have bears. They got a set of bears here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they have a subway?
No subway yet. So right now, we hiked up to marketing second night,
Sounds like
west
that's my
of
project.
in acclimation day, to spend the second night there. And at this point, we found out from our guide that weather was too bad to go to the right and hit Kangala first. So we decided to go left and hit Rangelot Pass first. This was just part of the trail before it started to get really snowy. This was a porter, a human porter, obviously, carrying almost 200 pounds worth of wood on his back. He was 17 years old, and they're just something else. I tried to pick this one up and couldn't even move it. It was so heavy. I was shocked. So we made it up to Lunden. The last photo I took, I was eating breakfast, and I looked outside. It was beautiful, so I walked outside and took a quick picture. Not more than 15 minutes later, when we were ready to head out, clouds had moved in. You can kind of see the clouds down here. They all moved in, and we had whiteout conditions for a couple hours after that. Sorry, go back once more. But I bring this to your attention, and you can see the matching trails there. I bring this to your attention because this happened constantly while we were out there. Weather would come in, it would knock us out for 20, 30 minutes. For the most part, sometimes a couple hours, but for the most part, it was pretty quick, and then it would dissipate again. So it just flip-flop back and forth. So at this point, we're at Lunden. We're about to hit our first pass, the Rangelot Pass. At Lunden, Callie and I both developed a cough from the acclimation. It started off as just a real dry cough, first developed into a sinus infection over this first day. So this is Rangelot Pass on our way up. Beautiful morning after those clouds cleared out. This is just a picture of the stairs, the rock stairs that I thought was interesting. The clouds had moved back in at this point, and a snowstorm along with it. And then these are a quick video of the conditions out there. It was steep and icy.
You're not really selling this trip to me.
Our first two passes, we had snowstorms, and it was nasty. We were both thinking, what the heck are we doing out here? Right near the top, so you can see the prayer flags. I hung them on that side. You can see the prayer flags there. Cleared out. The clouds cleared out at this point, so we were able to enjoy the top and see some views from up there. This was at Rangelot Pass. The prayer flags, they represent peace, compassion, strength, and wisdom, and they hang them in the wind, or they hang them outside so that the wind catches it and passes along those characteristics to everyone around. Callie, Om, and I at the top of Rangelot. Remember, our porter is following behind us, or a lot of times going ahead of us, and doing all this with us. But he has 100 pounds on his back compared to our 30 pounds or so. Again, the top of Rangelot, it was really nice up there. This was a little sea urchin-looking plant that I snapped a pic of coming down from Rangelot. I had seen a bunch of them all over the place, but most of them were pretty small. This one was like 2.5, 3 feet in diameter, but they were pretty cool plants over there.
What is the temperature?
So Rangelot, I think it was in the high 20s that day, high 20s, low 30s. As we progress up into these higher locations, it typically was in the mid-teens at night, and then in the 30s during the day. So, can you go back one? Yeah. So this is at Gokyo Lake. We're about 16,000 feet. This is normally a turquoise color lake, and I have a picture of it coming up. was supposed to be one of my highlights of the trip, and I got there and it was frozen over. So that was an interesting sight. But it was very cool waking up early and starting to hike to Gokyo Ri. It's a high point near this lake here. And as I step up the mountain, you'll see Gokyo get smaller and smaller as we get higher in elevation. So the sunrise starts to come up. That's Gokyo from first shot. So take a mental picture of this. It's a pretty big town, but it'll get real small as we get up. And you can see these hills on the backside of Gokyo. You can't see the glacier behind it, but as I get higher in elevation, you'll see a massive glacier from the top of this to the front side of that mountain there. Another beautiful shot of the mountains around Gokyo. So here you can see the glacier, and this extends all the way up and then curves to the right. Everest is to the right here over this mountain, and I'll show you a picture of that in a sec.
The man-made?
I'm sorry, come back.
Oh, sorry, the
glacier?
they have rock piles over there. That, right here.
Oh, that is man-made, yeah.
Okay. What are they doing up there?
All the tourists that go up, they try to stack them and take pictures.
That would suck if somebody dropped them, right?
People drop them because that's like only, I'm sure it's more people.
Yeah.
You start all over again after that?
Yeah.
So this was our first use of Everest. I did the typical tourist picture with the finger. As you can see, it's got its own weather conditions up there. I mean, Everest is a beast on its own. Those guys that are getting stuck in line at the top, I couldn't even imagine. And for everyone's information, we did not experience anything even close to that. That was berserk if anyone had seen those Everest photos. So this is Gokyo. We had climbed up a couple hundred feet, probably close to 2,000 feet at this point. Looking back at the glacier. Go to the next one.
Wait, Zach, did you guys go before the more popular tourism season started? Because all your photos are so empty, like it's just you guys, versus all the photos I've seen online. Like
right?
20 people like trying to shimmy through. Yeah.
So when we decided to do the 3-pass trek, so because of that is not very trekked often. Most people just do Everest Base Camp, that quick trek up and quick trek down. Once we got on that main path, that's when you'll see a lot of people.
Okay.
I don't know if I have a lot of photos, but yeah, that main path, there were hundreds of people all there.
Okay.
Another photo of Everest. Made it to the top of Gokyo Ri, 17,600 feet. So this is the glacier again. After we finished up with hiking to Gokyo Ri, our plan was go down to Gokyo, grab some breakfast, and then hike across the glacier and to the next town of Sakak. So this is what I was hoping for. The turquoise color didn't quite happen. Maybe next time.
That's what you'll see in September, October timeframe because of the different weather conditions. That's what I saw when I went in September.
You tell them the time to go.
No, I did. The mountain views you get better in April. The better weather conditions, warmer climates you get September, October time. But September is a little risky because it's right at the tail end of monsoon. So I trekked in rain every day for 4 to 6 hours in the rain.
Rain
versus snow. Yep.
So this is on the glacier. It looks all white when you're higher up, but once you're on it, it's actually a lot of rock. This is pretty far away, but next picture you'll see there is a lot of rock involved there. There you go, Haiti. That's one I built for you.
Thank you. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah. That's again, glacier. This is looking up the glacier, so it's just glacier for miles. The mountains around it were just towering over us. The glacier's constantly moving, so every year the trek path changes, and there's a rumbling noise that you hear all the time because there's rocks falling from both sides. When we got to the other side, we had to spot each other as we went under a rock fall area. You could see pebbles falling, but once you saw a big rock come unloose and start rolling down, then you had to direct your partner whether to move up or move back. I'm sorry? No.
Or if you have no clue, I'm looking at this, I'm like, I have no clue to go left, right, straight.
I would have had no clue.
The path to the Everest base camp is traveled quite often, and it's pretty easy. You can't. It's not marked. You kind of have to know what you. But it is like you'll see the trek. You know, like there's usually more than one way to get to it, so you'll see forks in the path.
Okay.
But it'll get you to the same next town.
Okay.
So you may hike 6 hours instead of 4 to get to the same location based on which path you take.
There's not one like a sign saying easy.
No. But that's only for the base camp.
There were no blazes on this.
Yeah, there's no marking like you see. Yeah, no diamonds, no anything.
Zach,
Yeah.
did you guys have like a plan for what you would do in the case of a bad emergency? Like, what if a huge rock like fell on your leg and you couldn't get out?
Our guide had a phone that he could call emergency if we needed.
And it got reception?
Yeah.
Helicopter out, yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
But you didn't have a phone.
I did have a phone, but I didn't have service.
And he did.
He did.
Yeah.
And do you know how long it would have taken for any sort of responder to get to you?
No, so the helicopters were pretty quick, though. They were moving in and out all day, every day. I have a couple videos of helicopters. They were like maybe every 25 minutes.
That's people getting hurt every 25 minutes.
Well, it's mostly from acclimation because people can't make it back down, so they get the helicopter ride.
Okay.
This is again on the glacier, so this is the area of the rock fall. Prior to this, it's much steeper, so that's the area that we were in concern. Once we got out of that, I snapped a quick picture. If we made the Saknak, the spelling on my map's a little weird, so they spelled Saknak. About 15,400 feet in elevation. Our guide, home out there, having fun. So once we got to Saknak, we had dinner. Raw noodles with vegetables was our go-to. We had that pretty much every day, either for lunch or dinner. We had their Nepalese bread. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it was delicious homemade mango honey. And then they had we got a vegetable hash brown. So we were fed pretty well on the trek. We were pretty happy about that. Next morning, I'm sorry, we jumped. Never mind. Next morning we woke up. I had beautiful sights, so I jumped out to the photo. Callie at this point was really hurting. Her sinus infection had developed into elevation sickness. She started to lose her appetite. That dinner is the first dinner that I recall her not eating her full meal, and then things started to drop off from there. So right now we're at Saknak. We're in between Rangelot Pass and Cholot Pass. And our next goal is to get over Cholot Pass and get to Zongla. We spoke with Callie. We decided that we would continue and push her over Cholot that day rather than taking an acclimation day at Saknak. Reason being is because if she got sicker in Saknak, we'd have to get a helicopter to take her out. Because you have to either go over Cholot or Rangelot. So you're stuck between the mountain passes. However, if we could get her over Cholot and get her to Zongla and do an acclimation day there, then if she still felt bad, we could walk her down to lower elevation. Otherwise, we were going to have to heli her out. So this was going up to Cholot Pass, almost 18,000 feet in elevation. So we had a small hill to cross here, a flat area there, and then this is the Cholot Pass area between those two mountains. This is right at the base looking up at Chola. I know it is very deceiving. It looks like a small hill. It took hours to get to the top. And you can
It doesn't look like a small hill. It looks very walkable.
and you can see a couple of small people there. This is looking back at what we had just crossed. We had gone across this whole area. Very steep, very icy.
So right at the bottom of this main, it has been brutal.
So a couple things about this video real quick. First thing being sunglasses. We were told we didn't need goggles. It was a huge mistake. I wish I had goggles. The first two passes, like I said, we had snowstorms, and it was just getting us in the eyes the whole time. It was bad out. Second thing is my breathing. I had run up to the top of Chola Pass at this point, taken a rest, dropped my pack off, and I was still breathing like that. Being at 18,000 feet totally affected my body, and I could tell pretty obviously. So at this point, I ran up, dropped my pack off. The last quarter mile of Chola was a sheet of ice, and Callie was really hurting at this point, so I decided to head back down. I caught up with Kat. I went down, met up with her, and then we finished it out together, and I just spotted her along the way. And then this is a video of us finishing it out. So no visibility. It got worse from the last video I took. The clouds are constantly moving in and out. So this is Chola Pass at the top. I didn't take any photos at the top because it just got really bad out. We just ate real quick and then kept moving. But this is Om with Chola in the background.
Zach, during snowstorms, do you always just keep moving to get out of it?
Yeah.
Pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay. It's never like,
going to get worse.
okay.
And we were still climbing at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is to get over your high point, and then when you're on your way down, it's a lot easier. But
Okay.
climbing in a snowstorm was brutal. So I made it to Zongala. This was my normal morning attire. It was very, very cold in the morning. Our tea houses were rooms, but they weren't air conditioned or heated. So the air outside was the same temp as the inside. And waking up, seeing your breath, and then going to bed, seeing your breath. I do not regret. I do not miss it all. So there's a beautiful photo of right outside of our tea house of a mountain nearby. This morning at Zongala, Callie was pretty much out of energy. Brought her breakfast and some tea in bed and tried to get her moving, but it just wasn't going to work. So we decided we would take an acclimation day here. However, the tea house kicked us out. They said if she's sick, she needs to get to lower elevation. So we either need to get heli or you guys need to start trekking. Callie is one of the most strong-willed girls I know. So, of course, she threw on her pack and we started walking. We made it a couple hundred yards. Callie was taking breaks every 2 or 3 steps. She was just hurting. Energy depleted.
How is she now?
How is she now? She was good after 2 days after that. Yeah.
As soon as you start climbing down and you get more oxygen in your body, you're fine.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to kill her.
We go back in. But yeah, so we got her up. We started moving. After about a couple hundred yards, we decided we needed to get her to lower elevation.
There's no first aid at the other stations for oxygen and so forth. Every time you stop it, in case of an emergency, you just have to call the helicopter. There's no.
So
But
there's not.
if they don't have heating, I doubt they'd have like other things.
Hey Tony, there's not a whole lot that they can do for acclimation sickness. Once you get elevation sickness, you're done.
Okay.
You can try portable oxygen tanks, which people do bring.
Okay.
But it seemed to be a hit or miss, and we decided against the oxygen tank.
Okay.
It was a luck of the draw.
Okay.
So at this point, we were at Zongala. The plan was to go all the way to Gorge Chef. However, we made it a couple hundred feet, decided to split. Our porter, Cool, and I decided we would go up to Gorge Chef, and Callie and Om would go down to Big Boche. Once they got her down to Big Boche, Om was planning on going back up to Gorge Chef that night to be with me so that we could do Everest Base Camp the next morning. So Om and Callie hiked down to here. It took about 6 hours to get to that point. It should have taken about 2 at normal speed. What was happening was Om would run ahead with the porter pack. So he took the porter, the 2 duffel bags. He would run those ahead and then run back to Callie, grab her pack, run that up, and then just flip-flop back and forth. So he had a long day that day. Once they got to the start of the trail, Om realized Callie wasn't going to be able to get down to Big Boche, and he knew he needed to get her down. So they rented a horse at that point, and they horsed her down to lower elevation. And Cool and I continued up to Gorge Chef.
Zach, when you say like he was gonna go meet up with you again. How did you like coordinate that?
We
You're
did.
just in the
Yeah, I woke up at 9:30 to a knock on my door. He told me he was here.
okay.
And that was that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're still meeting in these like little villages or
Yeah,
whatever they
he
are.
told us what tea house we were staying in.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's like can't be like meeting at a coffee shop or
Yeah,
something.
he knows where we're at.
Okay.
So there's Callie on the horse. Little fun fact about Callie, she hates horses. So being on that thing going through the Himalayas was not an enjoyable ride, but how many people can say they rode a horse?
When I went, we couldn't find a horse. So.
Like I said, there were helicopters going all over the place. Super low, very exciting. I love the helicopters around there. Don't mind that stupid laugh.
Yeah, this is your people.
It's fun.
That's what I sit next to every day.
So these are the action higher elevation. This is right before we got to Gork Chef. The animals were big. They were massive. However, they were more cautious than the donkeys, so I was actually more intimidated by the donkeys because they just didn't care where they were walking. They'd hit you no matter what. But these things were pretty slow and cautious with their movement. Big old horns, though. I wouldn't want to get hit by one. So this was at Gork Chef. This was the highest elevation town that we stayed in, 17,000 feet. This mountain behind you, I'll show you pictures once we get to EBC. Right behind it is Everest. You can't actually see Everest from Gork Chef or Everest Base Camp, actually. So next morning we woke up, headed to Everest Base Camp, 17,600 feet in elevation. There were just tents scattered all over the place. It was a pretty interesting setup. And then you got the Kumba Ice Bowl right behind all the tents, which is one of the most dangerous parts of summiting Everest, getting over that Kumba Ice Bowl, they say, just because there's a lot of big drops and whatnot. So this is one of the expedition crews, about 18 people heading up together to summit Everest. When I was there, it was the hot time to be on Everest for the summiters. Most of them, I would think, were at base 1, 2, but there were still some people hanging back at base camp. This is the Ohm and I at base camp, just hanging out for an hour or so. It was pretty warm up there that day. We had, I'd say, in the high 30s, low 40s. Another picture of base camp. As you can see, there were just hundreds of tents. It was packed. There were a lot of people. Beautiful mountains all over the place. I really wanted to camp here one night, but you need a permit and all that stuff. Home and I at the monument at EBC.
Hey, that's a good question. Does somebody actually go around checking to see if you have permits, or are they laid on the tent?
I'm not sure how that works. I don't even know how the tent setup works, because it seems like they're set tents. But I'm not positive about that. You'd have to look that one up. This was the main sign. My coworker at the top right there, I brought a little picture of them with her 2 kids.
So just a little story. So I made it to Gork Chef, but because of altitude sickness, I couldn't do the extra 200 meters. And I got sick and had to be helicoptered down, except there was a snowstorm and there was no helicopters coming through. So I walked down until we could get, out. But that's what happened. So I did get altitude sickness. I was sick the whole time, but I pushed on and didn't catch on.
That's so great.
And so he finished it for me.
So you sick like that before you got there?
I had sinus infection from the time I landed in Kathmandu, but I didn't know. In Namche, I realized it was sinus infection or something was going on, so I started taking the antibiotics I had taken with me, I needed to take the altitude sickness medicine, Diamat. I didn't have any, and unfortunately, yeah, I don't know how that would, because it had side effects to where I wasn't sure. But we pushed on, and I made it to 15,535 instead of the 18,000. So
this was EDC as we walked away. Massive Kumba ice fall. You couldn't really get that from the previous pictures, but it's a huge, huge area that they have to cross to get up and then finally see Everest behind this mountain here. So at this point, we were at Fort Shep. We hit Everest Base Camp, and then we came down and stayed in Zongla for the day. Next day, we were planning on taking on our final and hardest and highest pass so far, Kongala Pass. Once we passed that one, our plan was to come down and hit Dingbo J, meet up with Callie, make sure she's doing okay. Those couple days that I was up there without her were pretty brutal. Not having someone to talk with and associate with, and then just the brutal cold was the combination that I did not appreciate, but made it through. So this was Kongala Pass, heading up in the early morning before the sun came up. We had to cross this glacier here and then start Kongala Pass all the way up to the top and get over. This was probably the cooler of the three passes that we did, although Tokyo Reed had some of the best views, I think. So this was a part of the glacier, very rocky, jumping boulder to boulder. It was a lot of fun. A little dangerous. Nice little photo of a mountain walking across the glacier. And this was right before we descended this last little mound and then the final ascent to Kongala. Selfie, gotta get a selfie. I just like the photo. It's got the snow formation. I thought all that was going to drop at some point while we were walking up, but extremely steep. We had snow cleats on for most of the trek. Once you saw the snow pictures, we put those on. And then this was at the top, looking over to the other side. It was beautiful up there. Mom and I hanging at the top. We were the first ones up there that day. We had another group come from the opposite direction about 25 minutes after we got up there. It was a great day to be up at Kongala. Quick video of 360 video of everything. Sorry for the body. And don't mind my breathing on this one either. And it was a straight up drop on both sides. You did not want to be slipping up there. Amata Bloom, which is one of the most famous mountains in the Himalayas. I got to see that one a couple of times. I did not get a good picture of it, unfortunately. Prayer flags at all the high points. It was a pretty neat addition to everything. My guy did, yeah. And a picture of Kongala. So we made it back to Dingbo after Kongala. Checked in on Callie. She was doing okay. She was a little down for not completing what she set her mind to do when she was out here, but she was in medically better condition. We rested that night, and next morning woke up and started our descent back to Lupa.
Hey, Dad, let's go here, baby.
Oh, yeah, baby. I was pretty pumped to see it, as you can tell. I should add, typically from going over Kongala Pass and making it to Dingbo, my guy told me it takes 10 to 12 hours. We ended up doing it in 6. We were running the backside. It was a little out of control, and it was very steep the whole way. But we were both pretty pumped to get back to Cali. Heading back to Namche, we got a beautiful rainbow over one of the mountains. It was really beautiful. Another helicopter video. I tripped on something, sorry about that. Can anyone tell me what this is?
It's the water filtration system.
Water filtration. Any other guesses?
It's a light,
It provides light.
a floodlight or some sort.
Floodlight.
Yeah.
Anything else? So they used these panels to direct the sunlight to the center here, and then they put a pot of water on top, and they heated water that way.
Oh.
I was the closest guess.
We saw them all over the place. I don't know who put them up, but they're genius inventions. Very simple, and they seem to work pretty well. So this was another suspension bridge coming down.
But it's not stable.
Whenever I saw a bridge, I was pretty excited to cross it. They were a lot of fun, shaking back and forth. However,
The smart bridges are supposed to do.
when we started to get over it, I realized the old bridge had collapsed right next to it, and that's why they had to build a new one. I scurried on over to the other side. And I'll show you a picture later on of an accident in Lukla. The reason stuff like this stays is because they don't have vehicles. They have helicopters and planes that bring stuff to Lukla, and then everything else is carried up. So nothing is.
I guess in an emergency, you can figure out how to, right?
Yeah, this was on our way to King Boche for lunch, and then we stopped there and went to Namche. Spent an overnight there. This was at King Boche, beautiful temple. Yeah, it was the artwork and the carving into the concrete was something I'd never seen before, especially by hand. They were really impressive. All the artists over there.
So was this one of the more, for lack of a better word, established towns you went into? Like it wasn't just a little village?
I'd say this was a pretty small town. Yeah, it was just a regular mountain town.
Okay.
Namche was the main one. It had a lot going on there.
All right.
Callie and I on our way to Namche. The fake to say otherwise, but we were struggling at this point. About 10 hours of hiking in the day. We were ready to get into bed and pass out.
I know you suffered on something, right?
You had to find some ways to have fun out there. Walking for hours on end can be tedious. So we had fun during our break.
This looks like a walking dead.
So this was right after we finished. This is the start of the park area. I had lost 15 pounds over the 13 days. Callie and Om both lost over 10 pounds. It was crazy. We were eating so much. I really don't understand how we were dropping weight that quick, but the amount of walking that So I showed you this picture, back to Hades' comment earlier. So 3 days after we arrived in Lukla, we worked past up the mountain and we learned of a fatal accident, plane accident that occurred. Apparently the clouds were in, so no passengers were flying, but co-pilot and pilot were flying out. The pilot felt he trusted the co-pilot and let him take off. And unfortunately it veered off to the right and hit a helicopter whose rotor was still moving. Killed the co-pilot instantly, and the 2 police officers standing in front of the helicopter were also killed. Very unfortunate event, but I show you this picture because this was 2 weeks after that happened. And everything was just wrapped up when we got there. Everything needs to be airlifted out. There's no roads, there's no trucks coming in to pick this stuff up. So just the sheer effort that it takes to build these city towns was something that really blew us both away. So after we finished up with the trek, we flew to another city close by called Pokhara. Spent a couple days resorting and just relaxing there. After that, we flew back to Kathmandu, and this was taken on our last day before we headed back to the U.S. Callie and Om and I. Om gifted us with these beautiful, I think they're scarves, but I'm not positive. They were very thin and religious related, I believe. But yeah, it was a great trip, and Om, he was just fantastic to us. And that's it. Thank you all so much for coming. Yeah.
I was told Hawaii, I think it's a lot nicer. So much there for his honeymoon, he said he loved it.
I think, Park, keep driving, it's safer.
So I got 3 things over here. I got the prayer flag. I have 2 kukri knives, which are the local knives that they use, especially in the markets for meat cutting. and then a map of all of the three pass tracks if you'd like to see.
Oh, you let you bring a guy's carry on?
I checked out.
Well, being in the military, I think he's allowed. Being in the military is allowed.
Yeah.
Very impressive.